Hello and welcome back to what will be the final video in our How to Paint Apothecary series. I kind of did the liberty of cleaning up just a little bit off camera. I kind of focused on this sandstone or fallen marine there, and then just a few little kind of bits and tiny details that I didn't really want to waste time having to go over again and again. And I do want this to be our final one, so I figured I'd save kind of all of the important stuff for this last episode. So we are going to start out with just a tiny little bit of detail work that we haven't quite touched on, which is primarily going to be just these little red bits, basically. He's got kind of these medical symbols all over him, and I haven't really knocked out all of them yet, so we are going to start with that. And of course, this is going to be our Mephiston red, which we used. Let me clean off my brush a little bit there. It's got a stray hair attached to it. But we used it for his little shoulder pad already, so we're just going to kind of continue with that color. And just kind of using the edge of my brush. Whoa, there's a little bit too much on this brush I didn't expect. And we're just going to go ahead and get that entire little emblem there. Now, it is a little bit wet. The paint does have some water mixed in, so as it dries, it'll kind of adhere to that raised up area a little bit better. But when I first applied it there, I thought that was way too much. Thankfully, that doesn't appear to be the case. And I am going to keep that top of the bolter white. I just think it kind of looks pretty decent, so I do want to keep that. Next we have, if my hands would stay steady for this, that'd be great. We're going to do his little emblem on his helmet there, and this might come out terrible, but I will try my absolute best, rest assured. And it goes up by almost all the way to the top there. Perfect. I do have some washes planned in this one, just to give us kind of a final kind of dark effect, glossy effect over a lot of these little metal areas. I think that'd be kind of fun. And generally, we also want to do the base today. That's going to be a big focus. But otherwise, it's pretty much all just detail work, all just final little touches. I think this is like part 5 or something now. I don't really mind if our series go a little long, but I don't want to drag them out unnecessarily if we don't have to. So if I do like any tiny little mistakes today, I'm really not going to be too worried about fixing them. I just want to kind of get our main tutorial done here. See, like that tiny little bit of red. Normally I'd clean it up and we'd move along, but that's going to take time out. Maybe if you have time at the end, we'll do a last little bit. But overall, if you kind of look at it from a distance, you can't even tell that's there. So I'm not focusing on the tiny mistakes today. I also want to do some more brown. He has this whole belt, that little lanyard for the progenoid gland container. I still don't know if it's the same thing as gene seed or not. I'm really not too concerned about it. But I do like to get the technical names correct. But it's another area that we haven't quite touched yet, so we're going to knock that out as part of our finish. And of course, this is going to be dryad bark, which we've already used before with his several holsters he has. Again, I'm not sure why he has 2 of them. It's been months since I've assembled this specific marine, so I'm not really sure what kind of look I was going for, but he does look cool, so I'm gonna keep running it. I do not mind it one bit. I have Final Fantasy. Good lord. No, Farming Sim 2025 just came out. I don't know why I said Final Fantasy there. Kind of similar names, I guess. But I picked it up yesterday. I've been playing it pretty much all through the night. It's good. I like it a lot. Of course, there's some little kind of bugs, and they definitely need to be patched. but that's kind of always the case with Farm Sim. I feel like every new release that's a little bit rough on launch, but I've really been enjoying it. Between that and Factorio, it has overtaken my life. It's rough playing games like that are kind of addiction garnering, but it's fun. It's good fun. I will say though, I've done not too much farming. There's like logging missions you can do, where you have to like go around and pick up logs. I've been doing a ton of that, and it actually pays quite a bit of money, compared to like the farming missions. They're like contracts or whatever. It's basically you're just doing work for like other farmers. Of course, NPCs, because I don't play multiplayer or anything. But yeah, it's pretty addicting, and it's now competing kind of directly with Factorio's addiction in my mind. Both are very much taking a big chunk of my time right now, and I'm juggling the two. Of course, Factorio's newest DLC just dropped somewhat recently, and I've been playing a ton of that. I still haven't even touched the DLC. I've been putting dozens of hours in the main game. If you don't know, the DLC is like to go to other planets, basically, and Factorio in itself is a already addicting game on its own. You're basically expanding out your factory, and you do that for dozens of hours in the main game. So I'd love to touch the DLC at some point, but too much going on the first planet I started on. My factory must grow. I've been absolutely hammering away at it, just knocking out logistical problems. Really living up to my Ultramarine player instincts as I paint a Dark Angel. I do want to show off my collection at some point of Space Marines. Space Marines and my fantasy armies. I cannot talk today, evidently. But I do have quite a few minis, and I do have a good number of Dark Angels now, especially adding this one to the roster. I have a Dreadnought or two, but mainly I have a ton of Ultramarines. I'm very much a Blueberry fan. Unfortunately, I have the Lion painted as a Ultramarine, and I do want to rectify that at some point. If I can get my hands on the new Battle Force, Strike Force, whatever it's called, the new box set that's coming out for Christmas, I definitely want to pick that up. That way we can do a video, a series, I guess, on the Lion. I feel like he'd be a very fun model to paint for a series. I still have to finish Guilliman as well. Maybe we'll do a little video on that. He's primarily done. I just need to finish his armor trim, and then I need to paint the sword on him as well. So I might do a video on the sword or something. If we don't do like the entire model itself, maybe I'll strip it and we'll do the entire thing again. It's been like a year since I picked up Guilliman, so my painting skill has kind of increased in that time. But we'll see. And as we kind of finish up this brown, we're going to move on to our next color, and then we'll do the base and the washes. It's all just kind of cleanup work right now. This next color, I don't think we've actually used in this model yet. This is going to be Retributor Armor, which we're not going to use much for. We're just going to do that kind of eagle on the base there. I think that'll kind of give us a good little bit of standout ish from the rest of the model. And actually, I take that back. We did the knee pad with this color last episode, as I just looked at it. But we're going to go ahead and make sure our paint is nice and thin. As always, with our metallics, you want to add in just a little bit more water than you normally would. And kind of being very careful here. See if we can't get all of that raised up area and avoid the recesses. Kind of doing the side of the brush trick, kind of not. It's a weird kind of way I'm doing this. And follow it around. There's also like a ton of little bolter shells and everything I want to paint on this. I think it'll really add in plenty of detail. And then it's kind of hard to see, but there is that little head of the eagle there as well. So we will get that. Kind of blends in with the rock, so I'm not 100% sure on where that starts and ends, but it's good enough. And we'll just make sure we get the tips of this. Perfect. We might do one more pass over once that dries, but I think for now that's solid. And in our quest to finish all the little tiny bits and ends, we're going to do some Balthazar gold. This is going to be for all of those little shell casings, and then I think we'll be more or less finished. We'll just have the base and the wash to do. And same thing as before, nice and thin. Now the hard part is just going to be picking these out, unfortunately. They're just kind of thrown about all over the base. But that Balthazar gold is a great color. I think for bolter shells, it's a nice little kind of brass, kind of copper look. And I think it looks absolutely stunning. So we're going to carry on with that. I think this is a shell, a casing, whatever you want to call it. Because bolters they don't technically shoot bullets. They technically shoot like gyrojets. So I don't know what you technically call them. I think they're called shells, though. Whatever. I'm not that concerned about it. And then I think there's just one last little color I want to do on our main model here. And I keep peeking at it and then I forget about it. But there's a little kind of secondary lens on his little like headlamp here. That I've yet to color in, so this is going to be a nice bright blue. This is actually Techlist blue, I believe. I'll look at the container in a second here. And nice and easy, just very quick little brush over. And I think he's got that one little thing on his what do you call it, talberd. That little medical instrument that needs to be silver, and then I promise I think we're done. Then we can do all the detail work. Hopefully I don't ruin his talberd with this. It's very small and it's not very raised up, but I'll try. He's got like a little knife or something down there. I don't know what this is. It looks like one of those like old-timey syringes, if you've ever seen them. Those things are terrible, by the way, or terrifying, I should say. Probably terrible as well. I don't know. I wasn't around during like the 1900s, but they look crazy. If you ever played Evil Within, the syringes that they use in that game kind of look like that. Very, very, very terrifying design. They are very much mechanical monstrosities. Now with our detail work, we're going to be going back to Warpstone Glow. And I have this wet down just a little bit. Normally I don't like to mix water with our layer paint, but I kind of want, I'm kind of debating the best way to hold this. He has those kind of like folds in his talberd, and I just want to kind of highlight those using this warpstone. And I guess this one will be technically on the edge there. Perfect. And he kind of has these little folds on the top of his talberd as well. It's nothing crazy. I don't really want it to stand out that badly, but I do want to make it just known that there's some raised up areas. And we'll get his little kind of collar there as well. And then this mixed in with the kind of wash that we're going to throw over this as well, I think will kind of give us some good kind of blending. Perfect. Nothing too crazy, but it is kind of noticeable. Maybe I'm just crazy, but let's finally do what I've been saying for the last 20 minutes and do our base here. We're going to finish it off. This is going to be a technical paint. It is Armageddon Dust. And actually, I don't know if this is going to work for us. It looks kind of dried out. I'm going to switch brushes up, though, to something much bigger. And it's kind of spongy, but we'll try. I just want to kind of liberally apply this. Oh yeah, that'll work. Liberally apply that all over the rest of the base there. This is probably going to need 2 coats, but we'll roll with it. And I want to be a little bit careful as we follow this all the way around. I'm not too worried about getting it on the rim. That's very easily paintable. Just do a coat of Abaddon Black over it. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but for like if you're doing this on your own, it's a little trick for you. Abaddon Black blends perfectly with the GW base colors. And follow this around. We'll also throw a wash on this base just to kind of blend everything together in post as well. And just a little bit more for the back, kind of behind this leg. So today is the 15th, not to date this video or anything, but the pre-order I put in for the Red Gobbo and I have Sanguinor arriving in the same package. I believe it's supposed to come today. Either it comes today or it ships today. I'm not sure. I didn't really read the fine print. So either our next model we do is going to be probably the Sanguinor, and then I think the Red Gobbo I'm going to save till at least December. But in between then, if for some reason it doesn't get delivered today, or I just don't want to paint it today or something, whatever, I have a couple of Tyranid models I'll probably do instead. And then I have like a ton of fantasy goblin models that I need to knock out as well. And I think some Skaven. So all of those are kind of potential to be up next in terms of what we're going to be doing. So keep an eye out for those. If you like fantasy, we have a ton of that coming out. So something to be on the lookout for. Now, for the final kind of post completion, whatever we're doing here, we're going to be going on to our washes. And I'll change our brushes one more time. And we're going to start out with these, what do you call them? The papers, the purity seals. I told you. If you watched one of the last episodes, I talked about it. I can never remember the names of these stupid things. But we are going to start with that. This is just Reikland Flesh Shade. This will kind of give us a good, kind of worn, almost like they're written on but not really kind of look for our seals here. And I don't think he's got a little bit. We might even do this on the skull as well. And then his little shoulder pad bit here. It's kind of dark for that, but hopefully it doesn't look too bad once it dries. We'll do the same thing on the skull just to give it just a little bit of kind of weathering and natural shading as well. Perfect. Also, in between episodes, I did the back of his little power armor legs because they needed to be colored in. So there you go. I also want to do the base with this. And I'm actually going to mix some water in. I don't want it kind of too concentrated. But this will help kind of with all those little recesses that you see in the rocks there, as well as to help kind of blend our base with that technical paint as well. And same thing as we just did, just kind of spread that out all over. Nothing too crazy, nothing too difficult to do. If you're painting this on your own, it's very much not precision work, so don't worry too much about it. just kind of quickly and efficiently spread that out all over. And then we're going to have one last wash to do, and then we'll actually do a technical paint as well. I talked about it previously. We're going to do that some blood effect on the little mechanical buzzsaw thing he has going on, the kind of mini chainsword. But I digress. We'll do that in just a second. Actually, we'll do that now. Not to contradict myself, but I think we'll do this, and then we'll do the non-oil on top of it. So, Blood for the Blood God I've actually never used before. I probably am going to make sure my brush is kind of more dry here. And I don't need a ton of this. Normally, if I had like a sponge or something, I kind of use that, but I don't, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to kind of liberally apply this to our model here. And same thing on the other side. I've seen people do some like crazy effects with this stuff. They'll do it with like not epoxy, but like a kind of like gel mixed in, and it can get pretty wild. I've seen some really great effects. So just kind of something that we'll need to learn how to use in the future. But I digress. We're going to move on to our last and final wash. And as we kind of get to the end of this video, as always, I want to shout out, I do have a Patreon. If you guys like this channel and you want to support it, that's a great way to do it. Otherwise, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, I want to thank you guys very, very much for all of you who are already subscribed. It's many more people than I ever expected to get watching this channel, and it does mean quite a bit to me. So, yeah, just thank you guys very much for that. It's awesome. And this is our non-oil. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but this is our last one we're doing. Just, again, not very precise work here. We just kind of want to get all these little metal bits and bobs. It'll add a kind of nice glossy effect, as well as naturally kind of darken all of those little recesses. And we can even get the back of the legs here. And of course, all these little exhaust ports. Basically everything that's metallic or silver or gold. We just want to be very thorough. And hopefully I can keep things in view. That'd be great. I have trouble with that sometimes, I won't lie. I did actually manage to get my setup a little bit better. Now I can charge my phone while I'm recording, which is great, because before I was kind of limited on battery life. But now I can do kind of longer recording sessions and not have to worry about it, so that's pretty cool. And we'll do both sides of this thing. Perfect. I also want to might even clean off my brush a little bit, just so we don't have quite so much on there. I want to do the front of this little lamp, really kind of darken that up, help it kind of blend a little bit more. And I think we'll even do, if I can be kind of careful about this, the little recesses in this halberd. And then that should kind of finish us off nicely. And I think one last little pass over. Ah, look at that. It's not perfect. It's not 10 out of 10, but it's pretty decent. I'm pretty pleased with that. I think it came out pretty decent. Yeah. If you guys want to see more like this, I do have more stuff coming out. I already have a ton of videos on my channel, specifically Dark Angel stuff. If you're interested in that, there's a whole playlist dedicated to it. Space Marine stuff in general, a whole playlist for that, and pretty much everything else has its own little category if I've done enough on it already. So feel free to check that out. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me while we do this little series, and hopefully I will see you next time.